Don't want to really be looking at myself, though. All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. My name is DJ Ligori, and we are on episode number 138 today. And as you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, you can see that I am actually in my outdoor office. Well, I'm not technically outdoor. I'm in like my little nook office. The majority of the podcasts that I've done have been from my office in my room. And I was lacking a little bit of inspiration in there. And so I wanted to actually kind of move out here because I think your environment can really change the way that you behave. And that was what I'm kind of testing out today. And so I want to welcome everybody back to episode number 138. I was actually thinking about this a couple days ago. This is our 138th week of this podcast. Right? Whether this podcast changes names into the future, I know I've changed some cover art in the past. I know I've had different ideas of the flow of this whole podcast. My general goal is just to be consistent with it. And so I was realizing this a couple of days ago. I was like, this is my 138th week of doing this. So I'm going to see how long I can actually go with this. And I think this is a cool little project. And so I want to tell a story today about, I'm going to talk about fear. Because I've been thinking a lot about fear. I'm actually reading a book right now called Outwitting the Devil. And it's by Napoleon Hill, who's the individual who also wrote Think and Grow Rich. And basically the premise of this book is Napoleon Hill interviews the devil. And it's it's an interesting perspective because a lot of the stuff that the devil basically talks about is rooted around stress, around anxiety, and around fear. And it's causing me to think about those pieces of my life. And I thought about this story that I had when I was in 7th grade. I remember walking into the high school football weight room for the first time ever. And it was something that I remember the coaches saying, hey, you got to come down to the weight room, right? You got to start getting part of the team, start working out. And I really didn't want to because I had never really stepped foot in like a football locker room. I didn't really know any of like the freshmen, the JV or the varsity guys. And I decided to do it though, because I wanted to be a part of this team. And I knew that playing football was going to be a big piece of my life. So I decided to go, and I went down to the to the weight room one day. And I remember walking in and it smelled like rust and rubber and body odor and Axe body spray, like just all the delicious smells that you could possibly concoct in your head. And I went walking into the weight room, and I was like immediately intimidated. I mean, I was, like I said, in 7th grade. There were guys who were much older than me, much more developed, much stronger, much more mature, and they were throwing some weight around. I mean, we had some fairly strong guys on our team, and I remember going in there thinking like, I got no idea what I'm really doing. I kind of started working out by myself in my basement around like 4th and 5th grade. And I really did not know what that was. I really just kind of copied my father to the best of my abilities and did some research online and things like that and just tried to figure out how to work out at that part of my life. But when I got into this more structured weight room, there were like workouts on the board, right? Teaching you how to bench press, teaching you about squatting, about power cleaning, hang cleaning, all of these different workouts. And initially when I was in this weight room, super intimidated. Right? Very afraid. I wanted the other guys to like me. I wanted to make sure that I felt like I was doing the right things to feel like I was a part of the team, even though I wasn't on like the freshman JV or the varsity football team. And I knew though that if I continued to keep going, eventually I would almost outwork that fear, right? The familiarity I thought was actually going to be the solution to the fear. And I kept going every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of each week. And I literally never missed a day all the way up until my senior year when I was voted the captain of the high school football team. And the weight room was just like the thing you did after school, right? That was our after school activity. And I remember being a senior and having been there for the last 5 years of my life, like some of my greatest memories are in that weight room and watching guys, make progress, watching guys fail, watching guys succeed, watching the guys who, as I like to say, run out the back door when shit gets kind of hard. I learned a lot about the way that teams operated. I learned a lot about how leaders were developed through adversity and watching guys succeed in a lift versus watching guys fail in a lift. Like a lot of life lessons I learned in the weight room. I'm a very big proponent of that. But nonetheless, I remember being a senior on the team and watching the 7th grade young men start to come into the weight room and like remembering what that felt like and thinking to them, like, I know exactly what is going through their heads right now. And the idea here is that initially in 7th grade, when I went into the weight room, I had this fear, right? I was afraid. And I was afraid of, right, what are they going to think of me? Am I going to look like an idiot? Am I going to look out of place? What if I don't belong on this team? Right? A lot of different projections of what this fear could possibly be. And over time, that fear lost its power on me, right? Because I just kept going and going and going. And then eventually that familiarity became the solvent to that fear. And the idea here is that reps beat fear. If you're afraid of something, if you put reps into that something, eventually it's no longer going to be scary to you. Now, obviously, that's easy to say. The question is, though, what can you find within yourself to help you just get reps in that thing? And it doesn't have to be like the full 100% rep. What could a very small rep in that thing look like? And then work it up to maybe a 50% rep of that thing, a 75, and then a 100% rep of that thing. And then you continually do it over and over and over again. And eventually that thing doesn't scare you anymore because you have familiarity in that space. When I was coming up with the ideas for this podcast, there were these two statements that came in my head. I said, would I rather be permanently afraid or would I rather be temporarily uncomfortable? Right? Think about that in your own life. Would you rather be permanently afraid or would you rather be temporarily uncomfortable? Because we can choose to be permanently afraid and never do that scary thing, and we're just gonna be afraid of it then forever, right? It beat us, it won. Or we can take small little steps into that scary thing, right? In a 25% rep, a 50, 75, 100% type of rep system or strategy, and slowly outwork that fear by getting reps in that thing. And at this point, that fear is no longer permanent. You have a temporary moment of discomfort, a temporary moment of, ooh, this is uncomfortable. Okay, got it. Ooh, this is a little less uncomfortable. Ooh, this is a little less uncomfortable. Okay, I got it. Okay, this isn't that bad. Okay, I got this. I love this. I'm good at this. And then you keep going, right? You keep working through with the amount of reps in that fear zone. And initially I had a hard time understanding, like, what's the difference between fear and discomfort? And I think fear is merely just a lack of information, right? If you think about me in 7th grade, I had a lack of information of what it meant to be successful in the weight room at that point of my life. And then over time, as I went for a week, a month, a year, I had much more information to base my behavior off of or my expectations off of, right? So we can be afraid of things that we just don't have a lot of information in. Yet if we go and acquire information in that area, eventually we're going to have enough awareness in that area. The reps got us that awareness that we're probably not going to be afraid of it too much longer, right? Depending upon the severity of what it is, right? Where I think discomfort is more of a tension. I think discomfort is more of a resistance that we're just working through. Because if you think of like working out, right? Am I afraid to work out? No. Is it uncomfortable to work out? Yes. Right? Am I afraid to have a really healthy diet for a month? No. Is it uncomfortable to have a really healthy diet for a month? Yes. Right? Depending upon what you're used to or what you're not used to. Right? So I think fear is just a lack of information. So if you have something in your life that you're merely just afraid of, ask yourself, am I just lacking information in this area? Like, what would happen if I just acquired more info and then I actually took some reps in that space? what could happen? Right? Because that's kind of some of the things that I'm trying to do in my life as I build myself personally, as I build our Acres of Diamonds business and our MindWOD CrossFit business and our young man coaching business, right? We have all of these different things that I'm doing that I'm acquiring information in, and it's slowly becoming less scary. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's not uncomfortable, but it's slowly becoming less scary because I'm just simply acquiring more information in it. Right? So if you're afraid of something, reps are going to beat that fear. All right? So ask yourself, in your life, what are those things that you're experiencing that you might be afraid of? And is it possible that it's just a lack of information in that area? Right? Go acquire some information in that area. Take some small reps in that space to then get familiar with whatever that thing is that you might be afraid of. All right? So thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this podcast from the beautiful sunny office out here. We got the sun setting. Well, the sun isn't setting. Sun is up in the sky, and today is actually April 8th. So by the time this will be released, it'll be Tuesday. Today is the eclipse, which everybody's going nuts over. So I hope it lives up to the hype, and I hope you have a great eclipse day. But nonetheless, thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you got some value out of it, as always, so grateful if you rate the show on Spotify. You can also leave a review at the bottom of the page on Apple Podcast, and you can also leave some comments and like and subscribe on our YouTube channel as well. So thank you guys so much, and until next time, keep doing hard things, and we'll talk to you soon.